Breaking news today. As the White House scrambles to shift focus, many Americans are left wondering why the truth about Jeffrey Epstein and his connections to the elite remains hidden. Is our government protecting the powerful at the expense of the people?
Hello, and welcome to That News Show, where we discuss the latest facts, fakes, and hypocrisy as reported by the legacy media. Let's roll the tape.
MSNBC reports that Trump is increasingly frustrated as his attempts to distract from the Epstein scandal fail. This raises a critical question. Why, in the world's most powerful democracy, does the truth about Jeffrey Epstein and his connections to the elite remain hidden, regardless of who is in the Oval Office? Americans were promised answers, yet the Department of Justice, under both political parties, appears more focused on protecting the powerful than ensuring transparency. If the White House believes that the old tactics of distraction and denial will still work, they are sorely mistaken. This issue goes beyond individual administrations. It's about whether our government truly serves the people or the global elite. Let's see what we can find out.
Consider how irregular the process has been between the Trump administration and Epstein accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell, a convicted sex offender, a move to a ritzier prison that just so happened to coincide with her cooperation with the Trump Justice Department.
The timing of Ghislaine Maxwell's transfer to a more comfortable prison facility, coinciding with her cooperation with the Justice Department, certainly raises eyebrows. This situation should concern anyone who values equal justice under the law. Special treatment for the elite is a bipartisan issue that undermines public trust through government overreach and opacity. It's indefensible that a convicted sex offender, central to one of the most notorious scandals in recent history, receives privileges unavailable to most Americans. Such actions by the Justice Department favoring those with powerful connections suggest our institutions prioritize protecting the elite over delivering justice to victims. Also, the public deserves clarity on who is being protected. The full extent of Epstein's network and any foreign intelligence connections should be disclosed. Investigations often devolve into partisan disputes, yet transparency is crucial and should not be hindered by any administration, whether past or present. Increasingly, even staunch Republicans are calling for accountability, a positive development for those advocating for integrity in our institutions. Americans are frustrated with a double standard that benefits the elite while ordinary citizens face harsher treatment. This issue goes beyond any single administration or party. It concerns the integrity of our justice system and national sovereignty. Suspicions of foreign influence over our institutions demand heightened vigilance. The American public has a right to answers, and delays in providing them only harm government credibility. The conservative movement champions the rule of law and accountability for the powerful. Losing sight of these principles threatens the foundational values of our nation. We must maintain pressure for transparency and truth, regardless of the discomfort it may cause those in power.
If Trump did nothing concerning while spending time with sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein, as Ghislaine Maxwell is reported to have told Deputy AG Todd Blanche before being moved to a far nicer federal prison facility, then what is the problem?
Ghislaine Maxwell's transfer to a minimum security prison camp, following her cooperation with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, underscores significant issues within our justice system's handling of elite offenders. The decision to place a convicted sex trafficker, central to a notorious scandal, in a lenient facility goes beyond poor optics. It reflects a deeper issue of accountability and adherence to the rule of law. This isn't the first instance of the powerful receiving preferential treatment, and it won't be the last unless we see a fundamental change in the management of such cases. This move is particularly concerning given the current low public trust in federal institutions. Neither the Bureau of Prisons nor the Justice Department has provided a satisfactory explanation for why Maxwell, found guilty of aiding Jeffrey Epstein in exploiting minors, was granted this transfer. Her attorney's silence on the matter, coupled with her extensive cooperation under a proffer agreement, raises valid concerns about potential government concessions in exchange for her silence or selective testimony. If transparency is the objective, the public deserves full disclosure about the discussions during those meetings and any promises made for her cooperation. This situation should serve as a wake-up call for lawmakers from both parties. Despite bipartisan frustration, Republicans demand answers and transparency, while Democrats appear to use the controversy more for political use than for pushing substantive reform. To date, neither party has sufficiently ensured that federal law enforcement remains free from political and elite influences. Without rigorous congressional oversight and explicit restrictions on granting special waivers to convicted felons, particularly those involved in severe crimes, the perception that justice is only for the well-connected will persist. Looking forward, the implications of such government actions are profound. They not only undermine trust in the justice system, but also damage the credibility of any administration that tolerates these practices. These failures risk becoming focal points in future elections. further polarizing the nation and diverting attention from the crucial goal of restoring equal justice. If Congress and the Justice Department fail to close these loopholes, the cycle of elite impunity will continue, and the American public will rightly question whether the government is serving their interests or protecting its own.
After all. That is where we start today with some of our favorite reporters and friends. Staff writer at The Atlantic and author of The Atlantic Daily Newsletter, David Graham, is here with an incredible new piece on this very topic. Also joining us is opinion writer for The New York Times, MSNBC political analyst Mara Gay, and Puck News chief political columnist, MSNBC national affairs analyst John Heilman is here. John, I'm going to start with you because you've sort of been my wingman on this story, which I was very late to. I have to say, I covered it during the first term as a heinous crime that was being investigated and prosecuted, and a lot of the victims made harrowing appearances on the Today Show, and I remember watching them in tears, but I hadn't really understood something that you helped me understand.
MSNBC's coverage of the Epstein controversy, particularly the recent developments involving Ghislaine Maxwell's transfer and her interactions with the Justice Department, showcases a commitment to investigative detail and fact-checking. The network's reporting, which includes timelines of Maxwell's meetings with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, her transfer to a minimum security facility, and the legal implications of her cooperation, is robust and well-sourced. It draws on official statements, congressional subpoenas, and direct interviews with key figures, providing viewers with a clear chronology and relevant legal context. MSNBC's editorial tone often frames the story as a partisan crisis for the current administration, sometimes overlooking broader institutional accountability. The network's focus on highlighting inconsistencies and potential misconduct predominantly targets Republican officials, particularly from the Trump administration. This approach risks overshadowing the bipartisan nature of elite protection and government opacity, as failures in transparency and justice have spanned multiple administrations. A more balanced editorial stance would recognize the contributions of both parties to the ongoing lack of public disclosure and accountability in the Epstein case. The inclusion of expert opinions and congressional sources lends credibility to MSNBC's coverage, with detailed analysis of subpoenas, committee investigations, and statements from lawmakers across the political spectrum. The network's effort to feature Republican voices calling for transparency, such as Speaker Mike Johnson and Senator Josh Hawley, shows some attempt at balance, though these perspectives are sometimes presented as exceptions rather than evidence of widespread bipartisan concern. Visually, MSNBC uses graphics, timelines, and video excerpts effectively to explain complex developments like Maxwell's transfer process and the administration's messaging strategy. These visual aids help viewers grasp procedural nuances and the stakes involved. The network's visual storytelling occasionally emphasizes the sensational aspects of the controversy, which can detract from a sober analysis of the legal and institutional failures at play. A significant area for improvement is the network's tendency to combine administration policy with broader Republican principles. The conservative movement, which values the rule of law and is skeptical of government overreach, does not uniformly respond to the Epstein case. Many Republican lawmakers and commentators have expressed frustration over the lack of transparency, emphasizing that accountability go beyond partisan lines and is a fundamental issue. MSNBC would benefit from exploring these internal debates more deeply rather than framing dissent as merely a political crisis for the president. In conclusion, MSNBC's coverage is notable for its investigative rigor and its challenge to official narratives. The network should aim for greater objectivity by scrutinizing the actions of all political actors involved and resisting the urge to sensationalize developments for partisan effect. The American public deserves a media landscape that prioritizes truth over political advantage, especially on matters as consequential as elite criminality and government accountability.
I think that you're asking all the right questions, and part of the challenge here continues to be the absence of the questions are mounting, right? The questions are getting greater and greater and more pointed because the answers are not getting any clearer, but the questions, the sheer volume of them, and the obviousness of them is making it kind of difficult to reach any conclusions just on the logical basis other than what I've been saying to you all along, which is, Trump is taking on water on this matter.
The financial repercussions of this ongoing controversy are felt across all sectors, exacerbating uncertainty that extends well beyond politics. The Justice Department's reluctance to share information, coupled with apparent preferential treatment for elite figures, undermines public trust and investor confidence. Such confidence is vital for a robust economy, yet it is currently being compromised. Consider a household budget analogy. When rules appear to favor the wealthy and connected, and average families face harsher penalties for minor infractions, it destabilizes the very foundation that encourages saving, investing, and future planning. This sentiment is echoed in consumer surveys, where doubts about government transparency lead to hesitancy in making significant purchases and long-term financial commitments. In the banking and investment sectors, unclear high-profile investigations foster risk aversion, stricter lending standards, and a withdrawal from markets that depend on predictability. For small businesses, the situation is even more challenging. Already dealing with inflation and supply chain issues, these businesses must now navigate the unpredictability of regulatory enforcement. When enforcement seems selective, it skews competition and stifles entrepreneurship, crucial for American prosperity. Efforts by the administration to enhance transparency, such as requesting the unsealing of grand jury transcripts, have barely scratched the surface of underlying issues. The persistent unanswered questions, particularly concerning the movement of large sums of money within the Epstein network, continue to chip away at public trust. Congressional subpoenas and demands for further investigations are steps in the right direction, yet without genuine accountability, they may be perceived as mere political theater rather than effective oversight. From an anti-globalist viewpoint, the lack of transparency about potential foreign intelligence ties and international financial transactions is alarming. The movement of billions through unclear channels suggests a potential for foreign influence that threatens not only our legal framework but also our economic autonomy. Furthermore, the previous administration's failure to enforce transparency and accountability set a troubling precedent. Its routine evasion of oversight allowed elite networks to operate unchecked, with lasting impacts on public trust. Repairing this trust requires more than superficial measures or partisan blame games. Americans rightfully demand answers given the high economic stakes. Until we see a fundamental shift in case management, applying clear, consistent standards to everyone, regardless of status, the perception that justice and economic opportunity are reserved for a select few will continue to erode our markets and our democracy. The real challenge lies not just in asking the right questions, but in demanding concrete answers that restore confidence across all American households, businesses, and investors. And there you have it. Americans are tired of being misled by those in power, regardless of their political affiliation. Under the Biden-Harris administration, we saw how inconvenient stories were buried and allies in high places shielded. Now, even with Republicans in control, the Epstein case remains cloaked in secrecy. Why are our institutions so desperate to keep us uninformed about the details and the people involved? Surrendering to the elite's control over information means relinquishing our sovereignty as citizens. This issue goes beyond political boundaries. It's about defending the integrity of our nation. When the truth threatens those in power, we must question who they are truly protecting. Be sure to comment below while dropping a like and subscribing. Until next time.